Welcome back to Men on Trek, Season 2, Episode 11. Tonight's episode, Errand of Mercy, originally aired March 26, 1967. I am Admiral Looks Good in Red, still, with my two captains, Captain Daystrom and Captain Palpatine. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Thank you, Admiral.
And Errand of Mercy. Lieutenant Commander Audio Arthur is off doing diplomatic missions.
And we with China.
And we with the Romulans. And we miss them.
Yeah.
But we'll rock on. Errand of Mercy, gentlemen.
Definitely in my top 10.
I don't think I ever really appreciated it when I was younger, but I really liked watching it again.
Errand of Mercy, along with Who Mourned for Adonis, shaped my role-playing thinking as far as GMing. It shaped my outlook on stories.
On storytelling?
Yep.
How?
It's simple. The misconceptions people automatically hold, you can use against them. You can use to forward the story. You can set up scenarios wherein the way it's set up, they will perceive something that doesn't exist, and all you have to do is flip it.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like they use the term they use now. They use in movie making.
Undermining expectations.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
How's it actually?
I can't call it. I actually hate that term, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
This does
subverting expectations.
Subverting expectations.
Subverting expectations.
Errand of Mercy does it correctly.
True.
What other franchises and other directors do, it's illogical how they do it.
Yeah, they throw you a MacGuffin at the last minute, like it somehow makes sense.
Right. It doesn't make any sense, but if it's done properly, it makes perfect sense. It is the preconceived notion of the individual watching the material that it's not just flipped for no reason. He always had a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
So in GMing and role playing, I would use that and set up a scenario. So case in point, I used a scenario where a little girl was running and the beast was chasing her, and she's, comes across somebody and screaming for help. Well, you would normally think, okay, I'm gonna protect the little girl from the beast.
Yeah.
Well, the beast was actually the guardian of the little girl.
Yeah.
So the hero jumps up to rescue
and gets slashed to pieces.
But what he's doing is actually defeating the purpose that the king or whoever had set the beast to do. So that type of stuff.
But that would not constitute an errand of mercy. That would constitute Captain Daystrom leading someone to their doom.
It's the misconception that the individual has of the scenario that has been proffered for him.
Thereby dooming the player under the machinations of Captain Daystrom.
Putting the player in a situation where they had to give in to the king because...
That's what I said.
Well, neither here nor there. The point is, it's the misconception. And this story does a lot. And as you stated, the writer...
Gene L. Kuhn.
My
favorite.
Does a lot of stuff.
Written and directed by Gene L. Kuhn in this one, right?
I think he was a writer and producer. I didn't catch the director.
A lot of his stories
could have been
are like that. They are. You start off with a misconception of the watcher. This is what I hated about Star Trek. What's the one with Archer?
Enterprise.
I liked it to a point, but it's like they didn't know they didn't learn anything. Well, I know it's earlier, but they act like every other race was supposed to respond like they respond, like humans respond. And you should know that you're dealing with another culture. You don't go to Japan and expect them to act like Americans.
No, you shouldn't.
Right? You don't go to China and expect them to act like Africans.
You shouldn't.
They're a different culture. What they hold, the attitudes they hold are going to be completely different sometimes.
Right.
So,
Errand of Mercy. The episode opens up. The Enterprise has been dispatched to Organia, because tensions with the Klingons have reached a breaking point. Starfleet advises that outbreak of hostilities is probably imminent. Captain Kirk tells the crew as they make ready to go to Organia to expect a sneak attack. And the Federation and the Klingon Empire are on the brink of war, and it seems like it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And again, shout out to the remaster, because all the shots leading into this episode look fantastic. The Enterprise looks amazing, and huge enhancement of the opening scene. Because when the Klingon ship does ambush the Enterprise, we get to see a whole lot more than you got to see in the original episode. Instead of them talking you through it, you actually got to see shots fired. And
yeah, it does a lot to help the episode.
I know it's all new and it's CGI, but I was amazed at. It looks like the Enterprise takes like 3 direct hits right on the front of the ship, but it was shielded. Yeah. And then they get off a phaser barrage and destroys the Klingon ship.
Spread, yeah.
Point of correction: at this point in the episodes, I don't think they had shields. I think that's the deflectors.
Well, it's what they call them, deflectors, but it's the shields. It is the shields. It's just how they defined it later.
Well, if I remember in Discovery, they had defense. They had defense. I don't know what. They energized hull plates or something.
In Enterprise, they said they had ablative. Well, not ablative. That's a little later, but yes, they would essentially put a current through the hull plating to give it some limited protection, and then by the end of the series, they have shields.
Because it's in Wrath of Khan, right, where they go energize defense fields, and then you see this boop 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 boop
yeah,
boop
it's
go
all
up around the ship, and it's not shields.
Yeah,
it's a defense field.
Well, eventually they define 2 different systems. There is a deflector system that offers limited protection to certain parts of the ship. Then there's the shields, which envelops the ship in a complete. Well, even that's subject to, is it the movie or the series? Sometimes it's a complete bubble. Sometimes it's what was suggested in Star Trek II, where you have a layer of energy following the contours of the ship and protecting the ship.
This is and I always proclaim to be the most ignorant on Trek tech, but this is in my mind the way that I always thought it was. I thought there was a defense field that there was an energy field that was helping to hold the ship in place to begin with. So in other words, all the plating and everything like that there's more than just rivets holding the ship together. There's actually a field that also contributes to the gravity and everything that's part of the ship. And that when they energize the defense fields, is that they're turning that up so that it's not just focused inwardly on the ship, that it extends out a little bit. Then there's a deflector, which is just for like
navigation.
Yeah, it's against mass, not energy.
Yeah.
And then there are shields which are specifically made to absorb and deal with energy. So I always think that there's those 3 parts. There's the normal energy field that helps hold the Enterprise structurally together. You know, when they said structural integrity is down to 15%, where in other words you're losing the ability to hold that. The defense fields are just turning that up like so that it makes it tougher to break the ship apart.
I don't know if that
in the original series, no. By the time you get to Next Gen, that's kind of what's happening. Not exactly, but yeah.
So what happens here, and I've never had your point of view of it, of how the ship shields work. But in this, Sulu makes a point that
to say the deflectors kicked on automatically.
And I always thought that was the main deflector on the secondary hull that was used to move obstacles or to deal with obstacles the ship would encounter while it was moving through space. That's the way I always perceived it.
That was always defined as a separate system.
See, and I'm agreeing with you, Daystrom, because what I'm thinking is that
Daystrom is right.
That it detected it detected mass, not necessarily energy. It detected a mass moving towards it. Mm-hmm. So the deflector shield came on as though whether it was a ship or a meteor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way I always perceived it. Sulu said
The
these
deflectors have
kicked on automatically.
Yeah.
So it's not force fields. It's not shields. So
It's a terminology problem in the early episode.
They detected a mass, right? So the science of Trek has not been hammered out.
It's not been defined,
in the story. So the CGI did a beautiful job. They showed impact.
The impacts on the shielding.
Shield.
Yeah, looks good.
And then they noted that there's an unknown vehicle or a vehicle that they don't know.
Yeah, initially they don't know its configuration.
Yeah, the configuration. And then they're blasted.
And you get a beautiful shot of a Klingon D7 coming in handling business.
I tell you that
D7 came apart so easy though.
Yeah, they blasted it. And you could argue that. I mean, that's one thing in all of Star Trek they never gave us that I always wanted. That straight up, no gimmick, straight up fight between a starship and a D7. I thought they were going to give it to us in Star Trek 6, but they didn't.
And I'll tell you, kudos for the remastered, because they actually, the ambient lighting that they used to light the Enterprise in a normal transition scene where it's flying across the screen, they dim that ambient lighting down so that the phaser shots cast like a blue
shadow on the hull.
Well, no, it lights the whole the hull up. They actually take the ambient lighting down so that when the phaser goes off, it lights the hull. I mean, it's just amazing. I'm assuming it's ILM. I don't know.
No, not necessarily. I was watching a YouTube channel, and there's these everyday guys who were doing video effects. I don't think they were professionals, but they redid the trench scene from another property.
Mm-hmm.
And they lit the blaster shots and allowed the blaster shots to throw ambient light on the walls of the trench and on the X-wings.
Right.
And it was beautiful. When they redid it was better than the original. It was so much better. So those guys out there who are fooling with this and doing that, there's a
lot that can be done. There's some very talented people.
They can do some fantastic stuff.
Very talented people working in a lot of things, a lot of properties. All the fan stuff on YouTube across a lot of properties is really good.
I think the fan stuff is
better,
hands down better than some of the stuff
a lot of times
put in production. Because they're not held against, the time constraints are not against them.
But shout out to all you independent Star Trek fans making cool Star Trek art for us to look at and enjoy.
Yeah, we were with you, Axonar. Sorry.
They're still going.
I don't know if they're going to let them.
They're soldiering on, man. They're soldiering on. That's probably a whole nother discussion. But
they're soldiering right into a lawsuit.
Well, no, they're skirting the restrictions, but they're out there, man. They're still doing it, trying to. So we're in Season 1, Episode 26, Errand of Mercy, Klingon Federation War. And the sneak attack happens, and like I said, we got to see it, got to see the remastered fight. It's not just the shaking bridge and being talked through it. It's a really cool scene. They did some fantastic work. And then immediately following the destruction of the Klingon ship, Starfleet issues a Code 1, meaning war has been declared. The Federation and the Klingon Empire have gone to war. The Enterprise's orders have not changed. They are to proceed to Organia and deny the planet to the Klingons because it is a strategic location.
So before we move on, Spock gets up and gives a report of the damage done to the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So there was blast damage to decks 10 and 11.
Mm-hmm.
The antimatter pods buckled.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some crew casualties, light casualties, not necessarily deaths. So what it does is it sets the stage that this enemy is on par with the Federation.
Absolutely.
So even though they took out the ship, they're not somebody you can just poo-poo.
Oh, no.
So just as a quick aside, the remastering was actually done in-house by CBS. They have a CBS digital department that did the visual effects. Kudos to them, man.
Outstanding, yeah.
An in-house broadcast network effects.
Outstanding work.
Nice.
And it only gets better as the series goes on.
Yeah.
They get a real feel for it in later episodes. It just gets better and better.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that they brought a property up to the level of technology there is today, or up to the level of visual effects we're used to, without giving us shooting first.
What are your? We did talk a little bit about this right before. This is kind of a left field thing. We talked about. Did you prefer the Blade Runner with the multiple passes through the camera of the practical effects, or do you prefer the CGI, pure CGI?
I think the hybrid approach is
You're right. That's
really
what I
good.
said, yeah.
But if picking between the two, I'm a practical effects guy.
Yeah.
I'm a practical effects guy. It's better.
Yeah, I like practical effects better because they're natural. They're not trying to mimic something that you're not used to.
Yeah.
And what happens is your mind automatically revolts against it.
Right. I think there are people that use the CGI stuff really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there are people that don't use it well at all. Like I would say the first trilogy of the Lord of the Rings, like that was very well done. But then The Hobbit, it was horrible.
It's when you use it too much. Like the real strength of the remaster in the Star Trek in the original series is that they were minimalist in their approach. They could have really went in the weeds and tried to remaster the bridge and tweak the hallways, and that would have been too much.
Well, that's the difference between. So Lord of the Rings, orcs were orcs. They were people in costumes. They did makeup.
Right.
And then in the Hobbit trilogy,
you got hordes of CGI. Creatures.
Main characters like the one the white dude with the stick for the arm, that was CGI.
Mm-hmm.
One of the was it Ironfoot, Dane Ironfoot, the one dwarf that came to help fight in the Battle of Seven Armies.
Yeah.
That he was a main character. He was all CGI. The main goblin was CGI.
Yeah.
Why not use an actor in makeup? Nope.
Yeah, all that was mocap.
Yeah.
Well, once again, the problem becomes you are used to. Your brain is designed for what's naturally there, and CGI doesn't equate to what your brain's used to picking up.
Yeah, there's some part of you rebels.
You revolt against
no matter how good it looks. Part of you goes, I don't think so.
You revolt against it. So when you know it's like manga characters with the abnormally large eyes and stuff like that. You can read that, you can look at it, and it's fine. When you actually face it in reality,
it's disconcerting.
It's disconcerting because it doesn't fit reality, the human form know. Now, Alita Battle Angel, they did pretty good. They got around it.
Close though.
They found that
right
on it. They took her eyes to the limit of what
you could accept,
what humans will accept.
Yeah,
because when we see something abnormal, we fixated on it.
We recoil from it.
So mothers always try to teach you to don't stare. It's human nature to stare because you're looking at something that's outside your normal frame of reference. And you're trying to process it. That's why you're staring.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So.
But they show that the damage done puts the Klingon Empire on par.
Yeah. And to Jim's point, knowing what we know about the Klingons and the D7 cruiser, you could argue that fight should have been longer, but it's an opening scene and they got to kind of move on.
Yeah, it was interesting because I think it
showed the power of a starship.
Well, it was almost overpowered for me. Like, bring it on. If a fleet of D7 showed up if that was the way the fight was going to be. Like, I think maybe one starship could have taken on 5 or 6 of those.
No, they used to, and this kind of slides out of canon and people can argue about it. There used to be a thing called the Klingon Wolf Pack.
Right. 3 ships. Three
D7s.
Because that's the Kobayashi Maru, right? There's a wolf pack in there. It's 3.
And that was supposed to be the stopper. You couldn't,
Right.
unless you had equivalent numbers or more, you couldn't get around that. But yeah, one on one, the D7 and the Constitution class are supposed to roughly match up.
I always thought the Constitution class was better.
Not by a lot. That was always how I understood it. Not by a lot. The Enterprise winning this fight is not shocking, but winning it so quickly was a little bit like,
Yeah, I think tech-wise I agreed, but what I always thought was superior with Starfleet is that you had an entire crew of ladies and gentlemen thinking as independently as necessary to maximize that, and on the Klingon you had one guy screaming orders.
I don't think so. I think the warrior ethos of the Klingons made them a match in terms of crew. I never thought that was the issue. They always, to Mark's point, they always did say that the Enterprise was slightly better technology wise, but you're looking for more of a little bit more of a slugfest, But in this instance.
Yeah, but you already did balance the terror, so you ain't got time. You got to rock.
You don't have time.
You got to rock past.
You got to keep moving.
So
right?
you make it a little scout ship or a frigate. They shouldn't have used a D9
or D7.
D7 as.
But that's the only
ship.
Klingon ship they had. Yeah,
they could have made something.
Yeah.
These guys could have generated something, but nonetheless.
Well, later on they came out with the D4s and all that. It could have been something like that, but.
And it was strange to me because they always designed a weakness into the Romulans. Like, although Romulans were superior in cloaking, they were.
Superior in cloaking and weaponry.
They gave Romulans cloaking and weapons, but they were lacked in propulsion and defenses.
Yeah. But what was the weakness of the Klingon?
Shielding, probably, when you compare it to the Enterprise.
So it was like the Soviet versus the United States.
Yeah, very much so.
We both got planes. U.S. planes are better. We both got tanks.
Soviets have more.
U.S. tanks are better. So that was the difference.
Yeah, Soviets have more.
So we were trained that Soviet tanks were they were in like the Wolf Pack. There was 3 of them. There would be 3 tanks in a unit, and only the lead tank had a 2-way radio. The other 2 tanks had receive only. So the command tank would yell the orders out, and those 2 tanks would respond, but they couldn't like call the lead tank and say, "Hey, look to your right."
Yeah, the Russian order of battle was a central control model.
Yeah.
Whereas we were not.
Yeah.
But the difference is the numbers against
quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
I think that's the model that the Klingons are listed on.
Yeah.
They have a huge fighting force.
Right.
But the
Federation ships are superior.
Yeah, I even got the sense that like the Klingon ships were like the AK-47s. They were stamped,
right,
and put together, and like
comparatively, yes.
Yeah,
comparatively,
one ship is no better than any other.
Right.
Yeah.
But like the Constitution class ships were like the ARs. Like they were
M16s. Yeah,
they were milled and more precise. Yeah.
I'd say that's fair.
Oh,
that's fair. That's something I always wondered about in the series in general. You had the Romulans and the Klingons, and I always felt like they were analogous to Cold War Russia and China, but I was settling in my mind who was who.
Right.
Were the Russians the Klingons and the Romulans the Chinese, or vice versa?
I always thought of the the Klingons as Japanese.
Oh.
The warrior ethos.
There is a Japanese element to them, for sure.
Ethos.
There is a Japanese element to them, for sure. Yes. And considering that our writers and creators are World War II veterans, that could very well be the case.
Oh yeah, because I remember Worf screaming about honor all the time. Right. That sounds very.
Well, even
what is that, Bushido? The way of
There's a play on that here for sure. But you also have it in the Romulans as well. It's just in a different way.
Right.
The Romulans almost have a Greco-Roman tradition.
Oh, it's very Roman.
Yeah. And what
Romulus
they do.
And Remus and
But I always but in my head, I used to think, well, it's Cold War, 1960s. Who's who?
Now, just to say it, we're not saying they are. This is just how we perceive them.
Right. And this is we're talking about.
So don't get upset.
We're talking about 1960s television as well. We're not talking about today.
Don't get upset with us. We're telling you how we perceive them as being young men watching it in the 1980s, 70s.
80s, 70s. Reruns for me. You guys might have saw first.
No, it's reruns for me. Remember, this thing popped when I was way young.
Yeah. So after the fight, which, we watched it 2 or 3 times, so you should too.
We watched it a lot.
But after the fight, the Enterprise still has orders to get to Organia and deny that planet. And Kirk orders Warp 7, which is pedal to the metal for the Enterprise at the time.
Right.
Fast as you can go without hurting the ship. And they warp into Organia. You get another beautiful orbit shot. They enhanced the Enterprise so much on those shots. I mean, you got windows and
CBS Digital. Yeah, good for them. Great job.
You got windows and you can see people sometimes, and it's
and I remember
good.
in the original series that planets kind of were a little bit different. So instead of a blue cloudy planet with white clouds,
orange,
you'd have an orange cloudy planet. But like this, this you can see topography and
almost every planet has been made.
You
unique.
could almost put the planets up.
The planets are very beautiful.
And you could name them and recognize them. Yeah.
But before we get there, keeping along with the storytelling aspect, Kirk makes the point that the trigger has already been pulled. They were talking about the potential war with the Klingons, but he said the trigger has been pulled. We're in it.
Yeah.
See, that's classic Kirk.
We're in it. And Spock goes, it's amazing that you humans always find yourself in something you say you don't want.
Yeah.
Kirk's like, I don't want the war, but now that it's been called, I'm going to win it single-handedly.
Let's get it on.
Yeah.
And Spock points out, it's like, you always find yourself in the midst of something you say you don't want.
Right.
And this is somewhat prescient to what goes on in the episode.
Right.
Because later on, close to the end, we see, we'll get to
There's an underlying truth that's being hinted at there.
There's an underlying
truth that's being hinted at.
A little bit foreshadowing.
Don't let that cat out the bag just yet, Captain.
Okay. But the trigger has been pulled. You already fired on us.
Yeah.
So there's some retaliation. There's some payback due.
See?
Payeth back. I believe in payback.
Leave no debt unpaid.
Well, let's see. The Enterprise got some damage on deck 10 and 11, and the Romulan has damage on deck 1.
The Klingon.
Deck 1, 2, 3, 4.
All the way through. See the debris.
Post in the comments how many decks a Klingon D7 has. I know you know. But so
I wish they would have zoomed in on it. Like you see these.
Well, they did have a nice debris shot.
We have to be careful with we got to be careful with the algorithm, though. I got to be careful about saying, zooming in and seeing things and being jovial about that. So
yeah.
Sorry about that.
You can't be jovial on YouTube anymore.
No
happiness.
No happiness.
Stop the happiness.
I wonder if you could say YouTube.
Of course we can.
In the algorithm. You think
we
so?
Appreciate YouTube. Yes,
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah,
we love
it's
YouTube.
advertisement for them.
Yay for YouTube allowing us to play in their scape, right?
Exactly.
Yay.
We're privileged.
Say yay for YouTube.
Yay for YouTube.
Yay. So, Enterprise arrives at Organia, and they beam down to the planet, and Captain Daystrom pointed out something interesting. No prime directive foibles yet. They know this is, this is a weird one. They fully know about this planet, and they know its technology level and its people, and yet there's no talk of them having not been contacted.
I think the prime directive is suspended during war.
I don't think
it's been thought up yet.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I don't think it exists yet.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
But the way they even handle it in the narrative of this specific episode, even though the Organians have a medieval society, this planet apparently has been contacted and people go here, so it's no big deal, or at least it doesn't seem to be. So Kirk and Spock beam down to establish negotiations with the planet, and they beam down in the middle of all these goat sheep herders and goat farmers, and nobody reacts.
Green goat, says Captain Palpatine.
I never paid attention to that.
Yeah, I saw some green goats.
I want to go back and watch an unfiltered episode.
You don't have a 4K TV.
Well, no, I want to go back and watch an unremastered episode and see if they did that after the fact. I don't remember green goats. I don't remember it. I didn't pay any attention to the livestock when we saw the episode.
CBS Digital.
I'm thinking they might have done something.
Yeah.
But to your point, Admiral, nobody is flustered by these guys appearing out of thin air.
I guess we don't get to be the Archangel Gabriel this time.
Now these are sheep herders in a underdeveloped society,
Medieval society, yeah.
and nobody bats an eye.
Well, they even say that.
Yeah.
He says it's like they people beam down here every
all
day.
the time, yeah. Yeah.
But see, the Organians just don't care.
Yeah, they're not pressed.
They don't care.
It's not pressed.
They don't care. Don't have to.
But that should be the first hint.
Much like children playing in your front yard, you're unconcerned.
That should be the first hint something's not quite right.
Yeah.
And then as they're making a statement, you hear somebody off in the distance say, "Welcome."
Yep.
Like, how the heck you know I was coming?
Where do we introduce? Do we introduce it now? The idea of the Organians versus the Q.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
But I think we have to.
We have to do it relatively early.
Well, we have to talk about. We have to talk about the level of power that we're that's being demonstrated here.
We're going to have. I agree with Captain Palpatine. I think we're going to have to talk about this early. We're going to have to pop the bubble and go ahead and talk about it because it's so impactful to the overall story. I don't think we can do it like we normally do and just follow along and let the
I'm good with
reveal
that.
itself.
Mm-hmm. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So where we are right now is a Yellborn comes out and greets Kirk and Spock and takes him to the council chambers. What I was thinking is when we get in the council chambers and they're telling them,
Let's do it there.
They're telling them all these things that are happening when they don't seem to have a way of knowing about it.
So what we have is what's the name of the
a Yellborn, the guy, the head councilman, a Yellborn,
the head
a Yellborn.
Yeah. So they just beam in. There's no communication between them and the city.
No,
and he shows up and greets them. Mm-hmm. It's like, well,
hey,
how do you know I'm here?
We didn't call ahead, but here you are.
And he's like, and Kirk's like, listen, we need to speak to somebody in authity. And
a
Yellborn goes, he goes, well, I'm the head of a council of infinitely powerful gods. Will I do? Will I do?
Would you like to talk with me, young man?
There's nobody in authority here. Kirk's like, what?
Somebody's got to be in charge.
Somebody's in charge.
Well, I'm the head of a council of infinitely powerful, immortal gods.
And he pats little James on the head and goes, "Would you like to talk to me, kid?"
But the actor that plays him is just it's so great. So because he's like he gets worried so quickly,
and like so many of the actors on Trek, he's in multiple episodes.
Yeah,
he plays other people.
Yeah, he is. Great actor.
So he goes, "Would you like to come with me, and I'll take you to the council?
Would you like to be humored? We'll buy you some ice cream."
And Spock goes, "I want to tricorder some more green goats."
Yeah, and I found that weird initially in the storytelling, although it's a means to an end. I found that weird because it's like the situation is like, really, Spock, you wanna go take pictures right now with everything that's going on, but there's a means to it. There's a means to an end.
Yeah,
right.
So Spock goes off to explore, and Kirk goes to the council chambers, and he's trying to tell the elders what's coming.
Yeah, the Klingons.
And Kirk is not pulling any punches. He's like, they gonna call you ugly. They're gonna take all your.
Be careful.
They're gonna take all your stuff. Yeah, they're gonna take all your stuff and everything. And they're like, we don't have anything to take.
He's like, we're in no danger, Captain. It's all good.
He kept saying, well, we're in no danger.
He's like, we're worried about you.
So be careful. They're not going to call you your pronoun.
That's right.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Be careful. I might as well throw mine out now.
They won't use your pronoun.
Oh, see,
be careful with the Klingons.
There you go. Yeah.
They're not friendly towards you.
They'll have you building PlayStations for 14 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
You open the door, so I'm stepping through it. Yeah, he's warning them about the atrocities that the Klingons will commit. And they're just
saying,
like,
they're not flustered.
No, they're like, we're not in any danger. We keep telling you we're not in any danger.
No problem.
Yeah.
That we fear for you, Captain.
We're concerned about you.
Yeah, because you should get out of here.
Oh, we missed a spot before they beamed down. Spock was talking to Sulu, telling him,
Kirk.
Yes, Kirk was talking to Sulu,
telling him what to do if the Klingons show up.
In case the Klingons show up. And Sulu's like, "Yo, we'll handle it." And Kirk's like, "No,
you will not handle it.
You won't handle it. You won't handle it."
You were right.
So this reminds me of when they came across the Metrons, the Gorn.
The Gorn, same thing.
Same thing. It saved
Protect
my ship out of there.
Yeah.
The Gorn we're jumping around like always, but the Gorn hasn't happened yet. But it's the exact same situation.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk saying, don't get in a fight you can't win.
Right.
Yep.
Because they have reports that there's an entire Klingon fleet in the sector.
Yeah, and they blow you out the water, boy.
Yeah, you can't take numbers like that.
Mm-hmm.
But even to Jim's point, the fact that Sulu even seems to think that he could hang in that fight, fleet. They said fleet, and what is a fleet? Well, that's subjective, but it's not one ship, it's not two ships. That's a lot of ships. And the fact that Sulu even thinks he can get in that fight and hold his own is just like, oh, okay, but no.
No, get out.
Yeah,
Get out of
escape and report is the order. And while Kirk is, getting to the point you two gentlemen were talking about, while Kirk is laying out why it's not good to be under the yoke of the Klingons, the other gentleman, and I didn't catch his name, but
Tellurim or something like that.
I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
He turns to Yelborn and says, 8 ships have just appeared. 8 ships have just appeared.
This just goes to show. I mean, the Organians aren't like
it's a whole nother level.
They're not like universal rubber stamped replicas like Qs. Like a Q is 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 a Q.
Right.
Like with Organians, there's definitely
skill sets,
different skill sets.
Yeah, abilities.
Yeah.
And this gets into the, we mentioned the Q. While we were watching the episode, we got into, and I want to talk about the Great Klingon Fleet shot. We'll get there, but we started comparing the Organians to the Q at this point, talking about, what is the power level here? And I made an argument that nothing they ever did with the Q really compared to what the Organians displayed in this episode. So,
but before we get there, this is the juxtaposition in the episode. You assume that the Organians are farmers. You assume that they're everyday moment and everything.
Low tech.
Low tech. Everything that you've seen up to this point tells you this. Now, Kirk is in the council chamber trying to get the Organians to understand that another star-faring race who are not good guys,
not nice people,
who will not care about your pronouns, is coming to break a foot off.
Dude.
They're not nice. Nice people care about your pronouns, right?
Right.
So you assume that the Organians are
primitives.
Yeah. Until
not primitives. Not primitives, because they don't come off that way in the way they speak.
They don't come off, but their technology says something else.
Technologically less advanced, yes, but not what I would say primitives.
Look,
no.
they got a green goat out in the courtyard.
It's not their.
I'm sorry, that's a primitive.
No.
If I walk down the city of Detroit and I see somebody walking a goat,
you can see that. You can see that. Now.
I'm like,
people got farms.
We don't do this. We don't do this in the city. That's out in the suburbs, in the middle of the city. You got a goat.
Hey,
that's primitive. That's primitive.
And that's downtown Organia.
Downtown Organia.
Yeah.
That's primitive. I'm sorry.
Next to City Hall.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Next to City Hall.
That's primitive. So he's trying to get them to understand that another starfaring race is coming, and these people are not friendly. They will not talk to you and be kind to you like we are trying to be kind to you. They won't acknowledge your background and what you want, and they will just override you.
He tells them concentration camp, slavery,
slave labor.
He tells them all that.
Yeah.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Yeah. This is coming your way.
There was blood on the walls of the 53rd precinct.
And the Organians are not fluxed by it.
Right, we're in no danger.
There's the line, but we really do not need your protection.
All right.
So the one gentleman goes, 8 ships just appeared.
Right.
And all this, and guys are starting to beam down. But before that,
and the other Organians were like, "Oh, well, he's right." I mean, they don't. It's not like they went there and verified it.
No.
They're just like, your job is
to know what's going on.
You keep a presence in the external universe. You monitor the rest of the universe. And who knows what the rest of them are doing?
Man, this episode's so difficult because we skipped another part. Spock comes in after he does his
Talks about
tricorder
the
reading,
stagnant
and he
society.
talks about the society is stagnant.
Yes.
It hasn't changed in thousands,
Tens
and
of thousands.
tens of thousands of years.
Yeah.
He said it's a case study of
Stagnation.
stagnation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no. They're primitives. They're total primitives.
They appear to be.
They appear to be. So Kirk goes, okay, maybe I can help. Maybe that'll help me
Yeah.
get them to understand what's going on. And he starts to offer.
Educational programs,
Things.
civic works,
So he's offering what their society can
Bed
now
Bath
do.
and Beyond.
nation
What
building.
their society can now do for the Organians to bring them up out of their abject societal poverty into the family of nations.
If they will allow us to park a few starships in there.
If you give us docking rights.
Yeah.
If you let us turn your home world
into
a
a fortress.
battlefield,
Into a fortress.
So
if you allow us to burn most of your planet to a cinder now, we'll help you rebuild it.
but they wouldn't even get that from the Klingons. Klingons just burn the planet to a cinder and drive away. But the whole point is, the Organians, I said that before, I've said it 1,000 times, they're not fluxed by it. They're like,
Right. No, we'll be fine. Nothing's going to happen to us.
until the one gentleman starts to talk about, 8 ships just appeared in our orbit,
And
people are beaming down, and Kirk
hundreds of troops are
Kirk
beaming
looks
down.
at Spock like, "Can you confirm this?" And Spock like, "I got nothing to confirm it with."
Well, then
I don't have nothing to confirm it with.
they cut to space, and once again, in the original series, you get a bridge shot and some byplay to tell you all this, but we get a fantastic shot of lots of Klingon ships popping up in orbit and opening fire on the Enterprise. Eight Klingon D7s.
Right. So Kirk tells
Sulu
to get out
of
there.
Dodge.
But the point is, and this is the point we were talking about, the Q.
The contrast with the Q.
It's now been revealed to you. It's been revealed. It hasn't been revealed.
Something's different.
It hasn't been revealed to the audience.
It's hinted at that there's something might be
there's
going
something
on
different.
here.
It's hinted at something
Something be going on here.
Something's different.
Right.
Now we're going to bust the bubble early. The Organians are Metron and greater level entities.
I'd say greater. And who's listening to this that hasn't seen this episode? This is no spoiler alert. You've seen this episode. Go back and watch it again.
And this is what I like about it, because a preconceived notion by what you see is not the reality thereof.
It is a planet of Quizhat Hatteracks.
Beyond the Quicksack Cataract.
But see, that's
remember
why,
the Quizhat, it could be in many places.
Many places, but he couldn't change crap.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
But that's why I made the argument immediately that they're stronger than the Q. The Q couldn't do that. These guys have an almost omniscient presence. He's on Organian. He's looking at you on Earth like, what you doing?
Yeah.
What you doing, Captain Daystrom?
Yeah.
You preparing to go to war? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think you get to go to war
I don't
today.
want a war, but us humans find one anyway.
Oh yeah. Well, well, we'll get to that in a minute. But that's why I made the argument that they're on a higher level than the Q. The Q have all this power, but the Q don't see what they're not looking at in a given moment.
See, I always hated how that
Well, the
Star
Q
Trek
were
era
poorly
wrote
the Q were poorly written, but
I think the Q was meant to be a continuum of all those super powered people.
but
I think the Q. There's a meme or a saying out there right now that it says, you know, I'm more of a magician than a wizard.
yeah.
Which a magician does tricks, and I'm not saying that there isn't something, but that's if I had to break it down, then what I would say is that the Q are magicians.
Yeah.
The Organians are wizards. Like they're this is true power. That's not like
This is on another level.
yeah. This is another level.
I think so.
And I never. That's the one thing I'm stressing. When I was a kid, I always knew the Organians were.
They're all that.
I knew that they were powerful.
They're bad.
But I didn't understand. I don't remember the line, which is we're gonna come up to it, but I'm putting it out there anyways. Where he's like, Captain, I'm standing in front of you, but right now I'm also on your home world, And I'm
And on
also
the
standing on the Klingon planet at the same time.
Kronos.
Where do you just think about that in science fiction? Like where is that concept? Where has that been introduced before? This idea that
it doesn't exist in science fiction. It exists in biblical records. So this would be was it omniscience,
Omnipresence.
omnipresence.
But the omniscience is that they know what's going on.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point. So in science fiction,
and they can do something about it.
Science fiction, it has not existed, but in biblical record,
Yeah.
Right.
it has.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a power of God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It's on that level. It's on that level.
So Kirk and Spock still don't understand who they're dealing with. And if you're a first-time watcher, you're sort of perplexed. Why is this innocent
Peaceful people.
They were trying to tell them. He was like, I know you don't understand this, but I'm going to break it down for you. And then that's when the tricorder.
That's
Yeah.
when
that's when the communicator goes.
And-
He talks to Chekhov.
Not
And-
Chekhov, Sulu.
Sulu.
And what struck me in that part of the episode was Kirk normally. There's a moment here where I'm almost looking for Kirk to go, I don't understand, and let them explain. And the events kind of carry him away. Plus, Kirk's all fired up and he's ready to get it on. And that's an underlying tone of the episode as well. But yeah, there's a moment here where they're like, hey, young man, listen to me. We're fine. And you think maybe Kirk's finally going to go,
I got a good argument on that one.
Yeah.
It's not an argument; it's just a discussion.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about when you do like firearms training, and they say when your adrenaline starts going, you lose your fine motor skills.
yes.
What has just happened to Kirk is that he has been involved in the first attack of a war.
Yeah.
His ship was attacked, and he destroyed an enemy ship.
He's fired up.
Like, yeah, his
The
fine
shots have been fired. We're in it.
his fine diplomatic motor skills are gone.
Well-
he's just dealing with big chunky things at this point. That's all he can get out.
Great-
He actually tells Organian,
Great,
I'm not
great
a
line.
diplomat.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
line from Kirk.
Yeah.
I'm a soldier. I'm not a diplomat.
Right.
Which is completely different than what
Then what comes later?
which comes later under another
I
Star
don't even
Trek
want to get into that.
franchise.
Jean-Luc?
I want to get into the pajama party.
Jean-Luc?
I want to get into it. No,
So he's like, look, I'm here to help save you guys.
and you guys need saving.
Let me help you.
Help me to help you.
Help me help you.
I'm here for helping.
I want to help you, but you got to help me help you.
Because inside of the Organian is a Federation citizen trying to get out.
That's right. And we're gonna engineer your planet.
Well,
Look.
and there's another contrast here.
Look, council member, we're trying to help you not go to the gulag.
Right.
Mhm.
We're trying to help you not to go to Rura Pente.
To be.
No, he says
Klingon
he
subjects.
says you would be safer in a penal colony
Yeah.
than in an occupation.
And I thought about the time frame too. This is 1967. The Vietnam War is in full swing, and there's a little bit of that in this of this other power coming to this seemingly primitive people and saying, "We can make you better.
Okay.
All you gotta do is fight that other guy." You know,
Okay.
there's a bit of that in here, and if you study history, the people are looking back at him like, we really don't care.
So really, for the Organians, if they were regular humans, which they're not, it's a bad proposition either way.
Right.
Their way of life is going to end.
Their
Either
way of life is done no matter what choice is made.
Right.
If they choose a federation, they become a federation province, and their way of life is done.
Yeah.
All that green goat in the middle of the city, that's going to be outlawed regardless of who's in charge.
Yeah, it's replicators and flying cars. Who,
That's right.
and who wants that?
'Cause we know because of Yay Brother, the Federation controls planets pretty tough.
Weather control.
So the Organians' way of life, it's almost like the conquistadors going to Mexico and
Going to Central America. Yeah.
going to Central America and the Aztecs and all of them being wiped out. Whether you believe it was disease or whatever the reason was. An advanced society coming to a less advanced society, the less advanced society will be wiped out. And when I say that, I don't mean killed. The society will
will be
alter
changed.
to the point of not being recognizable according to what they were before.
Right.
This is what it is. It's not because of any evil reasons. It's just because the change requires it.
Change is inevitable in those
It's
circumstances.
inevitable.
In those circumstances.
I start bringing you cars, and I start bringing you flying machines, and I start bringing you the goat in the middle of the city is outlawed.
I give you sunny and 70 and every day,
Now,
and it's flying cars.
For those of you that don't believe me, in the 1940s, you could own chickens in the city of Detroit. You could have your own private chicken coop in a major city. Try that today.
Still, I think they went back to it.
Build a chicken coop and see if it's.
I think they went back to it.
That's because
All this urban farming and stuff. I think
that's because
reversed
Detroit
on.
got
I think at a
depopulated.
state level they stopped because I remember it was a few years ago everybody was upset because even people in rural areas that were designated as being still community, where the proximity.
If you
like
lived
less
in a
than
township or a village.
yeah,
Yeah.
they couldn't have the chickens anymore.
So the advancement of society, those things by nature change.
Definitely can't own a horse.
Regardless,
You can't own a horse in Detroit.
Yes, you can.
You can have a horse in Detroit.
I've seen a guy riding a horse in Detroit. A guy rides a horse in my neighborhood where I live. There's a horse.
yeah, but you live further out. I mean, you live right off the edge of farmland.
But I've seen a guy on horseback in Detroit. I grew up in Detroit, but I've seen it.
You sure it wasn't a cop?
No, I'm not talking about them. They had them too. They finally stopped doing that. But
I bet you won't find one now.
I saw guys.
Yeah, how long ago was that? 40 years ago?
No, dude.
38 years
This is
ago?
recent.
well,
recent.
who knew?
There's horses and
Who
there's
knew?
not a lot, but
Okay, so nonetheless, the Organian society is done no matter what.
Yes, agreed.
see a deer on Telegraph.
No matter what. Whether they say, yes, Captain Kirk,
We're on board.
we're on
Right.
board,
Or not.
or the Klingons come in and take over, their society is doomed
Decided if they're normal human beings.
if they're normal human beings. And Kirk is fighting to get them on his side. And when
Well, and Kirk's coming from a good place. He's sincerely concerned about them surviving, and he wants to do what he thinks he needs to do to ensure their survival, disrupting their society notwithstanding. I mean,
are you sure about that? Remember, I think his motivation. I've been told to prevent this from becoming a base for the Klingons.
well, that's his orders. But he believes in the rightness of his approach. He knows his intentions. He knows the Federation approach to doing this is, in his mind, beneficial to the people.
Yeah, I think he's got the right message. He's just the wrong messenger at that point.
He's talking to the wrong people.
Well, I mean, even if they were the right people,
Yeah.
here's a guy. It'd be like the admiral of a aircraft carrier coming on land and saying, "Look, we're gonna help you with all this, but it's basically going to come from a military standpoint." And he even says it. He goes, "We'll help you build fortifications and defenses."
Defenses.
And it's like,
we don't want fortifications or defenses.
no.
We don't even want you here.
What this is the contrast between the Organians and the Hulkans.
Yes.
The Hulkans are normal beings who are pacifists, and they're saying, we don't care, we're not going to deal with you, and they're going to die.
Right.
Whereas in this situation,
Isn't that a later episode?
yes. Whereas in this situation, the only reason this is going to fly is because there's something special about the Organians.
Something special in that
There's something
Organian
special.
water.
Yeah, there's something special.
I'm gonna bottle it.
There's something in that.
Organian water.
No, there's something in that Organian smile. When I can smile when I'm invulnerable.
Yes.
I can smile when I'm invulnerable.
yeah.
When I'm not flux.
It's easy to be one with the universe if you are the universe.
Yeah.
when you're not flux, it's easy to put them pearly whites on.
I swear I don't remember being a kid watching this and have, what was his name? Eltharion, or what's his name?
Oh, a Yellborn.
A Yellborn says, "Captain, I'm standing in front of you, but I'm also standing right now on your home world and on the Klingon home world." I'm like, what? Why did I miss that as a kid?
So we have the one that has already told them that the Klingon ships are there,
And hundreds of Klingon troops
hundreds
beam
of
down
Klingon
on the
troops
planet and
are beamed down
immediately
on the
occupy
planet.
the planet.
and they're occupying. And Kirk's like, we're in trouble now. He's talking to Spock. Hey, we've got problems. We're in the thick of it. And the Enterprise is gone. The next scene is the Organians give them Organian clothing and
disguise them, give them a cover
them
story,
and have confiscated their phasers.
Yeah.
So the Elborn says,
Yellborn,
that we're going to have a problem with Spock. And one of the other council members
goes, no.
Who should not know anything about
Right.
other
Right.
should not know anything about other
that was my point in my earlier statement. This comes off like people come here all the time.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
It's
People come here
confusing.
all the time.
He should not know about
Vulcan traders and Trillium.
And Trillium.
Yeah.
What do they need Trillium for? They got goats. They got no engineering. Spock says, look, these guys are still in the dark ages. They don't have no machinery. They don't got printing presses. They don't have nothing. What do you need to know about Trillium for?
Spock trades Kivas and Trillium, man.
What? For what? What do they use it for?
To feed the goats. It's a warp 2 goat, man. You're good.
Once again, it just shows that whole like Organian. There's each person sort of has their area of responsibility.
Well,
here's some cat who's sitting there, and he just says
he's sitting there reading their minds like a book.
You think it's mind reading?
Yeah,
I don't. You know, I don't think it's mind reading.
Or he knows, or they're just looking
he's
at
everywhere. He's everywhere in the universe, except he's like his
he's like Vulcan.
Yeah, his field of fire is like, you need to look at this, and I'm going to look at this, and he's.
Yeah, so he goes, look, we just passed him off as a trader. They'll buy it. It's like, ain't no way they're going to buy that. Oh, they'll buy it. They'll buy it. Yeah. So while they're talking, the doors swing open, boom.
And in comes Core.
In comes the bully boys.
Core.
And then Core sachets in afterwards, after his boys clear the room.
Shout out to the 8 actors that stood in and played hundreds of Klingons all through the episode, because it's the same 8 guys all over the place.
Yeah, it is.
But Core walks in and he's like, I'm here.
Let me try this planet on for size.
And the Organians greet him. He says,
"But I love Core's entrance. I love Core's entrance because Core walks in and goes, 'I am Core, the military governor of Organia.' In case you didn't know,
I've taken over. Your planet's mine.
That should be obvious to you. That should be obvious to you."
He said, "You greet me."
He's like, "Do as I say, and it's all good."
So the introductions are made. Core makes the introduction, and the council sort of introduces themselves, and
they say peace and head grease, Core.
And Core goes a Vulcan, and he's a Trillium dealer. Okay, we're going to take him.
And they go, we're not buying it. We're going to put him on the rack.
Right, I'm not trusting what you say, so we're going to check him out.
Called Spock an enemy alien.
And then Kirk jumps up. He goes, whoa, back down.
Yeah, Kirk totally blows it.
Well, yeah, he goes, where's your stupid smile?
Yeah, he goes, where's that sheepy smile like the rest of them got? Yeah, you don't belong here.
Yeah, something's wrong with you. You're not an Organian.
And here we go with the writing, right? So what do we have in Core that you don't have nowadays? You have a capable, intelligent, observant,
enemy. Not a brutal, bloodthirsty lunatic.
Not someone you just need to hate.
Not a brutal, bloodthirsty lunatic, but
a 15-foot giant with purple skin. But this is just a dude who's
doing his job.
He's doing his job.
This guy is Kirk's counterpart in the other government.
So
he's every bit as capable.
It's somewhat written like Balance of Terror. The enemy is not necessarily evil.
Yeah, go ahead.
The enemy's not necessarily evil. He's got a job, and you're on the opposing side.
Right, and that's all it is.
He's got a point of view, and you're on the opposing side.
I don't think he is Kirk's counterpart. He's not a starship commander, because there's a point where we won't reveal that right now. But
we're all over the place now. We might as well roll with it.
Well, there's a point where it's revealed who Kirk is, and he takes a couple of steps back, and he's like, "This is." Of the Enterprise, you're the captain of the Enterprise. I think this guy is more like a military.
He's just a military
attaché. He's like, he comes in, and
he's like Cisco. He's just a guy over a base he's the governor of a planet.
Good enough.
Because of what he says to Kirk later, I got more out of that. He might be.
He's not a field officer. He's not in command of a fleet. He's the head guy of 8 Klingon ships, man. I didn't get that. I think there's still a
you think there's a senior guy up in space?
Yeah.
I think he's No, I think the captains of the ship, depending on how the Klingons set up their military, you have the captains of the ship, and you have the guy who's in charge of the fortification, the star base
On the planet.
Why would you have the guy who's in command of 8 of your battleships down there putting up papers saying that people are going to get killed?
Right.
He needs
He's
to be
not-
up there
yeah,
waiting
he's-
for that
yeah,
fleet
he's-
to
Because
arrive.
he did say he had hoped to meet Kirk in battle, and that would be ship to ship. That'd be in space.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way they've handled
It
And
could
this-
have been his ship is up there and he was down there.
that was the impression I got, because the way they've handled Klingon ranks, commander in the Klingon forces is a captain. You go to the movies and all of that, it's the guy running the ship is a commander. They never call them captains.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I can buy it. I'm
All
okay
right. So
with that.
Cork
But,
comes
he-
in.
but, Cor-
and
but the byplay between them is awesome.
the point is,
But Kirk is blowing
he's not a villain that you will automatically hate.
And he's not a lunatic. Yeah.
He's not one of those guys that you say, I just hate him.
Yeah.
He seems reasonable. He's talking reasonable. Hey, you Organians, we're going to come on. We're taking over. I know you don't like it, but it is what it is, and these are the rules and the regulations that are required.
And comply or
And
it'll
you
be
comply,
bad.
you be and it good. But if you don't, we're going to kill you. I'm being upfront. I'm not trying to catch you doing something so I could bust a cap in you.
Just do what I say.
I'm just telling you.
Right.
And then when Kirk jumps up, he goes, "Who's this guy?" "Oh, this is our first citizen." And then Quark looks at him and goes, "Where's your smile? How come you don't have this stupid sheep smile like the rest of these?"
Yeah, and right from the beginning, instead of there being some sort of like crazy illusionary sort of thing where he's got to figure it out and everything, they don't write it down to your intelligence. You should, at that level where Core is, you should be able to spot a guy who's different
Absolutely.
in a situation like that. It should have been as obvious as it was.
And go ahead.
I want to make a point. I hate this when they do this in a movie where the movie villain shoots somebody for absolutely no reason.
Just to show how maniacal and violent
Just to
they are.
show
Yeah.
how evil
Yes.
That's new Bond.
that character is. I hate that.
Yeah, that's
that
new Bond
cheapens the
yeah,
villain.
absolutely.
It doesn't make, ooh, I'm afraid of him now. If I was one of his boys, I go, no, I'm a Papa capping you before you do something stupid and Papa capping me. You wouldn't live long. That's not reality.
Yeah. Yeah. It's poor. It's poor writing.
Kirk is far more menacing.
Core.
Or Core is far more menacing. Just being a regular guy, go, look,
Well,
I've got my rules.
Well, you guys know Core is one of the big three, right? You know that, right? The original 3 Klingon villains in the series:
Yeah.
Core, Kang, and Korov.
Didn't know that.
Korov.
No.
So he's, I won't say he's suave. He's not smooth. He's not debonair. He's straightforward. He's blunt.
There's a sophistication about him.
But there is a level of sophistication to
Right.
him.
He's intelligent.
He's very intelligent. So he talks to Kirk, and he got the first citizen. He goes, okay. And he goes, all right, you're going to be our liaison. And Kirk goes, I don't want the job. He says,
You don't have a choice.
you don't have a choice. I'm not offering you a job. I'm telling you what you're going to be doing.
Right.
I'm
And
in charge now.
But
And then he looks at him and he goes, and you don't like that, do you? Because I like that you don't like that.
and
Gotta have
yeah,
something to push back against.
Yeah, and Core likes the fact that he's running to somebody that has a spine.
Right.
And Kirk completely, it's good writing, but at the same time, you're kind of disappointed in Kirk because he completely fails to even attempt to carry off the charade.
Yeah, but Kirk's there's a lot of, he's having a bad day.
Yeah, but no, that's what I'm talking about. It's good. It's
Yeah.
good because of the Kirk character, the way it's written. But at the same time, you're like, come on, man.
Well, Core says to him, he goes, genuine hatred.
Yeah.
He looks at him, he goes, I can sense that you really
what I
hate
get
me.
Gene L. Kuhn is getting, or what I perceive Gene L. Kuhn is getting, because I could be 100% wrong, is that he's trying to show us that no matter what side you're on, there's going to be some antipathy towards the other side. And that is not easily done away with.
Right.
Yeah.
Kirk is sold that the Federation is correct and the Klingon Empire
And
is wrong.
His bitter enemy is before him.
And his enemy, not necessarily bitter yet, but his enemy is before him. And he's not willing to give in. He's not willing to play the sheep. Because he's not a sheep.
In the face of this enemy, yeah.
He's not a sheep. So playing a sheep is difficult for a wolf.
Yeah. Or a sheepdog, as they say.
What is it, Joe Rogan? He talked about that old saying. He goes, "It's better to be a warrior in a garden
The
than to be
Japanese, the Japanese proverb in a war. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's attributed to Musashi.
Yeah.
Or is it? Yeah, I think it's attributed to Musashi.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and like I said, watching that scene, it was great because I have mixed feelings. On the one hand, this is beautiful byplay between two adversaries, and it's really intelligently done. And on the other hand, I'm disappointed that Kirk's not even trying to carry this off and hide a little bit.
But in the background, God is watching. The
Gods.
Organians.
Gods
The gods are
are watching the children bicker.
Look,
They're watching the children bicker.
you guys are you're going through this motion, and
it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything.
So Quark traipses them all off, and the Organians are there. Okay, all right, man. Whatever rule you set, we'll obey.
The Organians say later on, they're like, "You have to leave because people like you, it's painful for us to
deal with."
So Quark gives all his rules and regulations, and the Organians go, "Okay,
well,
no problem,
no
Doc. No problem. Hey, okay, man. Whatever you said."
You're going to
Oh, that's right. That's wrong. You can't do that anymore.
Only in the last 2 years or so does that mean something bad. Don't even.
You're okay.
Don't even give it to him. Don't even give it to him.
You already started.
You're black. It's fine. I'm just laughing at
It's
you.
another 20 view episode.
But
algorithm.
yeah,
So,
we're going in the basement. But
it is what it is. I mean,
well, we've been in the basement since
Arthur
20 minutes ago.
It can be taken out.
No, it doesn't have to. We're not doing that.
So the Organians are saying, "Look, we're good. Doesn't matter. Whatever rule you set, because I'm not fluxed by it.
And
I don't care what you said."
And let's not forget they hook Spock up to the level 4 brain drain to try to figure out if he really is a traitor.
yeah,
or
where
not.
did this come in? Klingons have this thing where they can drain all your memories out of your head.
Well, it's a torture device designed to make you talk.
So what happens?
The brain sifter.
Quark takes Kirk to his office,
and Spock goes to the interrogation.
Spock goes to interrogation, and Spock, while Quark is talking to Kirk and gives him all the list of the requirements, Kirk looks at it and just throws it on the desk like, yeah, whatever. And then Spock's brought in, and Spock's sort of looking vacant. He's looking sort of off.
I thought he looked fine. I didn't think he looked like he had taken any damage at all.
He wasn't focusing on anybody.
Yeah. He looked like McCoy did in Mirror Mirror after
Spock got done with
after Count Spock.
There was nothing wrong with him, but he wasn't focusing on anybody.
Yeah.
He wasn't looking at any particular person.
Putting up those mental shields takes time to bring them back down.
He was just looking off. Yeah. And then they said, okay, this guy checks out. And then Quark goes into boasting about how good their mind sifter or mind ripper is. And we can get the information out of you.
But it'll destroy you.
But it will potentially destroy you. And Spock's okay. And they're given their requirements, what he wants Kirk to do, and that is to maintain the population, because if one of our rules are broken, we're going to take 1,000 Organians and we're going to start burning them to the ground.
Right.
Crispying them.
Right.
And that would mean something
if they were humanoids.
They were human, but you don't know they're not. So that would be a reason to hold. He's holding Kirk hostage,
right?
By the statement, if you allow this to happen,
and that's something.
So many people are
and that's something else as well done throughout this episode. The full ruthlessness of the Klingons is on full display.
Oh yeah.
This is just the one instance where what they do is not horrific because of this one caveat. But what they're willing to do and how they operate is on full display, and it's bad.
Absolutely,
it's bad.
Definitely, there is one is better than the other. The Federation is not perfect.
Flying cars and Sunny and 70.
They do have their problems.
Or mass execution.
But the Federation will not mass execute the population because of one guy's infraction.
I thought it was interesting. Because later on there is a demonstration of power, and there was two things that I started to think about. Number one is I thought he said Klingon phasers.
He did,
and my understanding is that they were disruptors. But
check terminology thing.
Yeah,
first season they hadn't figured that out yet.
Right. They haven't said a difference yet.
Every time you talk about them after that, they're called disruptors.
Yeah.
They function differently.
The other thing is, I'm wondering, as an energy, as a being of pure energy, it must have been like
Taking
a tickle.
shower?
Shiatsu.
Yeah, a shower or something.
No,
you know,
it was shiatsu.
yeah, it was like a massage. You know, it's like hit me with that phaser.
It's like, ooh.
So do it to me one more time.
It's like,
give it to
it's
me.
like, ooh, they disrupted my mortal coil, and I just got to float around for a little while. I was like,
Give it to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Kirk and Spock go off, and they're talking about the mission and what the situation
And
is.
how they got to resist.
Yeah, and Kirk's like, look, we're going to.
I got to show them.
Yeah, we got
Got
to
to show them how it's done.
We got to show the Organians that they can resist.
That they can fight back.
That they can fight back, and they're in agreement.
Yeah, Spock's on board, which is kind of surprising.
Well, the mission.
Yeah. Well, no, you're almost looking for. It almost happens early on, like you said, where Spock kind of admonishes Kirk, like, you guys have a way of getting into things you say you don't want to get into.
Yeah, but this, I tell you what, it shines a light across the whole spectrum of the episodes and even the movies about this idea that Spock turned down the Vulcan Science Academy to go to Starfleet.
He was a warmonger.
Yeah, I don't think it's so
Spock's
much
a
that he was
warmonger.
it was that he's like a half breed or something.
He hears the calling of his human blood.
Can you imagine the Vulcans
Say
going
it like a
you're gonna
Klingon.
go with this like
These violent humans,
and probably you're gonna go kill people.
You're gonna run around the galaxy getting into stuff.
Like he was going off with pirates.
That's not Vulcan like.
That's
not at all.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
He felt the calling of his human
here
blood.
You have the Vulcan Science Academy, where we're Vulcans. We don't believe in violence, although we got super strength and we'll beat the crap out of you. We don't believe in it. That's the difference in power level. When you are powerful, you can be magnanimous.
You can be altruistic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Only from a place of power.
So that's why the Organians are like, whatever, man, whatever rules you want.
You kids want to traipse around the
Whatever
planet?
rules you want.
That's fine.
You want to tell us we got to wear blue today? Boop. I mean blue. Right?
And
right?
I even took your favorite shade out of your mind.
Or better yet, I'll make you think I'm in blue, and I'll still be in yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, man.
Yeah.
But see, those who don't have power are so
skin
busy
in the game.
Are so busy trying to struggle to get and maintain
security,
power,
and security.
So the Vulcans, who we would say super smart, also physically endowed
and intellectually superior, most people would say,
and are not affected by emotions. You want to go hang out with the cavemen, Spock? You
want to go.
You know these are some warmongers. You read their history, right? We've given up our militaristic tendencies thousands of years ago.
Yes and no. There is a Vulcan fleet too, but
it's only to protect Vulcan.
Sure. When it becomes logical to phaser you,
right? But they go off and they decide that they're going to show the Organians that sheep can rise up. We can rise up and fight.
Don't have to be fleeced.
The Klingons. And Kirk goes, well, we don't have phasers. We don't have this and the other that. And Spock goes,
the Klingons will supply.
The Klingons will supply. We'll waylay. Don't worry about it, Jimmy. We'll waylay some.
We'll steal some weaponry.
We'll get what we need to cause havoc. with a non-smile on his Vulcan face.
And Klingon disruptors hurt more than phasers anyway.
Ooh, yeah, the pain.
Bust you from the inside out.
So they go about to do their dastardly thing, not giving a second thought that 1,000 Organians would die.
For their actions. Potentially, yeah.
So the statement is made by Quark that if the violations are made, we're burning guys down.
Right.
The statement's made. It's not reacted upon by Kirk. And then the next scene, Kirk's like, we're doing this. 1,000 of y'all die. Oh, well.
Kirk's trying to force their hand. He's like, hey, this has to happen. They have to be resisted.
He's trying to kickstart the cube. He's trying to get them to, well, we better, they're coming for us, so we better stand up and fight.
Well, the point would be, it's far worse for you guys if you don't.
Right.
So if I got to get this started and 1,000 Organians got to pay the price for it, I got to get you guys on board.
You don't get the impression that Kirk's even considered that.
He hasn't. He's not considering it.
Right.
Or he wouldn't have done it.
Maybe not.
So we get a scene, and some poor guard is walking by, and he's jumped
You see him again
And
later.
wait-
He's all right.
and waylaid, and his phasers are taken, and then Spock and
Spock bust out the big sonic grenade,
yeah,
the big sonic pineapple.
Yeah.
and a massive explosion.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next scene is they're back in the council chamber.
And and Yellborn and the others are like, how could you do that? That was so violent. What's wrong with you? Like when your kids come running through the kitchen and knock over mom's china. It's not good.
Oh, I didn't catch it. I didn't think of it that way. I thought of it more as your kids come running through the kitchen and they got muddy shoes on.
Same. Yeah. They.
Like, what
What are you doing?
See?
What are you doing? Why are you doing that?
Don't you see?
You're making a mess.
Right.
Stop it. Yeah.
And from Kirk's point of view and Spock's point of view, it's like we just don't get what you guys are doing. Don't you understand what's going on?
What gets me there when Kirk and Spock go out to do this, Kirk has contempt for them now.
Yes.
He's like, you guys are spineless. And I don't like you, but in spite of that, I'm gonna help you anyway.
So what you're starting to see, and tell me if I'm wrong, Captain. You start to see Kirk and Core
Are aligning.
Oh
yeah.
on personality regarding the Organians.
Yeah, 100%.
They're both starting to look at the
They're
Organians
warriors
from the same point of view that these are men.
They're warriors, and they do not like these sheepish people who won't stand up for themselves.
It doesn't matter that they're on the opposite side.
No.
They both have the same disdain.
You know what it reminds me of? Remember Kung Fu? Remember with Kane? Didn't matter where Kane was, people hated him. Like they're a Chinaman. You know, they always hated Kane.
Mm-hmm.
But he was always the same. He was like, what are you doing here, Chinaman? He goes, I would like some water.
Mm-hmm.
Like he never
Passive.
very passive, because he knew that no matter what situation, beat you down.
Right. He can.
No matter what the situation was. But that's what helps you remain, calm at that level, is knowing that you're
superior.
omnipotent.
He
It's
knew-
like
Superior.
He knew he could direct hostile energy away from him
absolutely.
and flow like water.
What they say about Shaolin, they can walk through walls. Shaolin can walk through walls.
So Kirk is trying once again to get the council to understand, and they're like, "You blew up the
ammo dump.
ammo dump.
You can't do that again.
Stop it. Stop being violent.
You did that. Did they blow up the ammo dump before they got their 2 phasers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's in there talking to them about what they did, and then Kirk goes to the head guy and said, "Look, if you don't give us our equipment."
Well, we're skipping where they get arrested.
Yes, that's right.
When they
So
first
so they're talking to them about the ammo dump,
and the
Klingons already put
have cameras
already
up.
put spy cams.
They worked all night. They
already put spy cams in the council chamber.
and Core and Core and company come in and they arrest him and throw him in the dungeon.
Oh, before they arrest him, he's like, "We're going to put the mine." The council leader asked, "What are you going to do with him?"
Mind sift him, find out who they are.
We're going to kill him.
Yeah.
We're going to kill him.
What we do with all spies and saboteurs.
But before that, we're going to put him in the mine sifter,
Right.
and we're going to crack him like an egg and get all the goodness out.
And the Yellborn's like, oh, that's violence. Look, I'll tell you who he is. Don't do all that.
Oh yeah, he tells me, he goes, "This is James T. Kirk."
And that's when you get your moment where Core's like, oh.
Oh, before hold on. There's so much in this episode. We jumped around so much.
Oh yeah,
before
we're off pattern, but it's cool.
before he does that, after the mind sifter that Spock has, when Kirk and Spock are talking about, Spock says, "This mind sifter is no joke.
Yeah.
It's the real deal."
Yeah,
Just because I was able to
It's going to break you.
escape.
It's going to break you.
Because
Right.
I was able to escape because I'm a superior Vulcan.
I'm a superior being, right?
You poor
You're
little
gonna be singing like a songbird in 5 minutes.
right. You poor second stage cousins.
It made me
puny humans.
You never see it, but it made me think of the device they had on the penal planet.
The Tantalus device.
Yes.
Not the Tantalus device. The I'm gonna
the device used to help
to supposedly to rehabilitate people,
Yes.
and he was using to scramble
that
brains.
wasn't the Tantalus.
That wasn't Tantalus is
Oh,
mirror
that was
mirror.
the Tantalus field.
Tantalus
Yeah,
is make you
yeah,
go
yeah.
poof.
Yeah.
I got to give me one of those.
Yeah, it's the reconditioning a disco light in the
Yeah,
ceiling.
So Spock has already made statement prior that it's no joke.
It's the real deal.
It's the real deal. I skated, but you won't be able to. So when Kirk tells the councilman that we're going to take him, we're going to kill him, but first we're going to put him under our mind
The
system,
sifter.
and we're going to break him. We're going to scramble him like a new omelet. And the councilman goes, no, you don't have to do that violent stuff. I'll tell you who he is.
Right.
And Kirk's like, whoa. And he goes, he's Captain James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise.
No, he just says he's Captain James T. Kirk.
The Klingons got the rest of the information.
And that's where Core takes like 3 steps back and goes, Captain of the USS Enterprise?
But the point is, he takes 3 steps back.
Yeah,
He backs up from it.
He's
Look, I want to back up from you so that I can get.
He gets out
a
of Kirk's
full
blue
view.
zone.
I want to get a full view of who you are because, man, we already know. We already got a dossier on you. He packs up like,
yeah.
man,
I was looking.
this is what a Starfleet.
I was
captain
I was
is.
looking for Core to be like, I thought you'd be taller. I was looking
So-
for Core to be like, oh.
So Kirk's reputation is already
Preceding
beyond
him. Yeah.
beyond just the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
The Klingon Empire knows who.
Oh, and that's
is.
real life. If you're the captain of a major naval vessel,
Yeah, they already got.
they
your
know
name.
who you are.
They already got your name.
I got more than that. But yeah, Core's like, oh,
Yeah, Court showing him respect.
yes.
A level of respect.
He
has
tells
now
him,
been
I
offered.
respect you.
Yeah.
He tells him that.
And that's when the whole thing, Court brings him in the office. He goes, look, man, warrior to warrior.
Have a drink.
He's like, hey, we're going to have a drink together. Let's
Have a
have a
drink.
conversation
Before
because,
I kill you.
well, no. He's like, look, you're a high level guy.
You know
I
what-
respect you.
You know what's coming.
You know what's coming. Look, man, I don't want to see a guy of your caliber scrambled.
Yeah, for these mo men.
Right, not for this. You're
yeah.
up here.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation like men and, tell me what I want to know and I'll avoid scrambling you and I'll give you a good death.
Right.
I don't want to see you looking like a
give you-
vegetable.
I'll give you a sword in your hand, like a Viking. You can go out.
Well, probably a clean execution. He's probably not getting
And
trial
then
by
Kirk,
combat.
Kirk does what Kirk's going to do. He says no to the drink. He says, no, I'm not going to tell him. And then Core takes it to the next level and he goes, hey, your buddy Spock?
Yeah,
I think I'll have him dissected.
because I got to figure out how he beat level 4.
That's right.
Yeah. You want to see your buddy suffer before you get executed?
So then he does like the only thing that to me was cliche in the whole thing was like, it's like when you give the evil guy time to monologue and everything like that. He's like, I'm going to give you 12 hours.
Yep. Before the torture starts.
12 hours.
Yeah, I want
think
you to
about
think.
it.
I want you to think about this.
Yeah.
But the whole point, Court, once again, he doesn't come off as a maniacal villain.
Mm.
He comes off as a regular dude.
Well, he tells.
I've got my point of view. You got your point of view.
Well, no,
you have your job. I have my job.
But the great part in that scene is he tells Kirk why. He's like, I give you 12 hours because I respect you, but not more than 12 because I'm on the clock, baby.
Well, in the midst of that, before he sends Kirk back to the
Before he sends Kirk to the dungeon.
they have a conversation about the competing ideologies
Right.
of the Federation and the
Klingon.
Empire.
Right.
And the Klingon Empire's point is,
Strength.
look, we got the power. Why not?
Right. Strong is going to prevail,
Because it does in life, right?
generally.
Might makes right.
The lion eats the lamb.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what it is.
Yeah.
If you're more powerful than us, then you win.
Yeah.
And we lose. And
Stronger, faster,
he even makes
smarter.
the point. At some point, we will lose.
Right.
Because we'll come against the Borg, and the Borg will break a foot off. in
Well,
us.
not the Borg.
I'm just saying.
Something.
Out there. He's already acknowledged
Wow. I
that
took
there's something they're going to run into that they're not going to be able to overcome.
I took that line as him being even realistic about the fact that they might not ultimately win the war with the Federation.
Yeah.
He's been somewhat ambivalent about it. He was like, we may not win this war in the long run, but it's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
It's going to be glorious, baby. We're going to get it on.
So my mind went to the Spartan mentality.
I think it's more that Bushido.
A glorious death.
It's more Bushido.
It could be, but my mind jumped at that moment to the Spartan mentality. this will offer me a glorious death.
If nothing else.
The honor of the battle.
Either I win or I get a
And
beautiful death.
that falls under Bushido as well.
True.
The honor of the battle.
The ideologies are similar.
The honor of the battle. You guys are trying to hide from it. You're pretending not to be wolves.
Right.
Your ships are armed to the teeth. You got shields. You got this. And your ships are technically greater than ours.
And you have planetary bombardment protocol.
And you're pretending that you're all peacenik and all loving and all this stuff. He's like, let's stop pretending. You got a military. We got a military.
We're going to duke it out. Yeah. It's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
So we're being honest. Yeah, we just rolling in and taking over because that's what happens anyway. That's what happens anyway.
Yeah.
So the Federation's way of coming in, we'll give you schools and we'll give you this and we'll give you that. The people assimilate.
It's soft shoe.
It's a soft shoe.
You're allowed to join.
But what's happened? No, you're going to join no matter what.
No, they don't force you. You can refuse.
Yeah, but
who would in most cases?
There it is. When I've got the medicine to prevent polio.
Flying cars and 70 and sunny every day.
Right. So are you not going to join? Okay, I'll go somewhere else.
Some don't. But
the Klingon Empire is like, no. There's no negotiation because you don't have enough power to negotiate with us.
Right. We don't have to talk to you.
We're rolling in and we're taking over.
Yeah.
So that conversation is had, and you get to see the difference between the two competing ideologies. And it's interesting because Kirk and Kor are lining up in their, as I said before, in their belief in the uselessness of the Organians.
Yeah, they're offended. They're offended by their passivity. They're offended by the fact that these people won't even stand up and fight for their own lives.
That's the thought of taking meekness for weakness.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah. So Kirk and Spock get sent down to the dungeon, and with 12 hours until their brain sifter appointments. and while they're talking about, there's no way out of here, we're in a tight spot, the door opens and a Yellowborn comes out and he goes, "Gentlemen, come with me." And they're like, he's like, "Oh, don't worry about the guards. It's all good. Come with me." And they walk out.
Yeah, but Kirk was like, "I don't know if we can trust you, man. You just ratted me out."
Well, no, he's like, "So did you break us out to wait for a reward and sell us again? What is this?" And the Yellowborn tells him, "Well, they were going to do violence to you, and we don't want that, so we got you out so they won't do violence to you." And he's like, "Well, they're still going to do violence to us." Like, no, they're not going to do violence to you. Violence is abhorrent. We're not going to let them do violence to you. If they were just going to leave you sitting in the cell, we would have left you there. But
because he goes, "You're taking us back to the council chambers. Is the first place they're going to look for you." And he's like, "No, they're not going to look for you.
They won't look for you here.
They're not going to look for you.
They won't look for you here. The undertone is we won't let them. We won't let them see you here." And you talked about biblical reference. The way they did this.
Yeah, definitely.
The way they did this is like, oh, they're not in the cells?
Yes.
Where'd they go?
Peter.
Yeah. Where'd they go?
That came to mind too.
Where'd they go?
Yeah. Yeah, and you would think at this point Kirk is starting to put 2 to 2 together,
but he's not.
He's not,
because he's got tunnel vision at this point.
He's lost all his
fine. Can't see
fine.
the forest for the trees.
All his fine motor skills are gone.
Yeah.
So they get back to the council chamber and they're talking again, and Kirk gets upset and like, give us our favor.
Give us our phasers, or I'm going to pound you.
Oh, he spins him around in the chair.
He's like, I'm going to do violence to you.
Yeah.
And the omniscient guy goes, give him the phasers. It doesn't make any difference anyway.
Yeah. And the Yellowborn's like, oh, violence. Oh, okay. All right, here, take your stupid phasers. They're in the cabinet. They probably weren't in the cabinet until that moment.
There wasn't a cabinet until that moment.
But he's like, they're in the cabinet. Stop it.
There's a shot, and there's just this asteroid, going past this binary star system, and you see like these 2 phasers in a cabinet, and then all of a sudden, boop, it's back in there.
I thought of an old Jewish guy. Goes, take it anyway.
Take it.
What? Take it.
Yeah, what difference does it make?
You and your violence.
You and your violence. Go to.
Oh, you terrible Jewish accents.
Go to.
You and your violence.
But it's so fun. So once again, they're not fluxed. Oh, you want your phasers? Go ahead, take them. It's not going to make any difference.
Yeah.
We've already got the solve.
It's like when you give your kids some candy because they're whining.
So Kirk and Spock go back out, and they phaser two guys.
No, you gotta. Or Kirk's great speech. He's like, I don't like you.
Yeah,
I don't like your planet.
I alluded to it.
I don't like your planet. I don't like the way you look. I don't like the way you
faces.
smell. Okay, I don't like your stupid faces.
Yeah,
but you know what? We're gonna go out there, and we're probably gonna die for you.
Because you spineless, sheepish people won't fight for yourselves.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll learn something from my sacrifice.
That's right. So they're going to go out, the two of them, and take on the Klingon occupation army. And this is where...
But meanwhile, Lieutenant comes in and gives Kor the news.
Oh, yeah.
The prisoners have escaped.
Yes.
And Kor's like, how? And he's like, no idea. There were 10 guys outside. The door never opened. And yet... when we went to feed them, they were gone.
Yep. And the first thing I was thinking was not necessarily the Peter incident, the biblical incident, but that Kor thought that someone used a transporter and transported them out.
It's possible.
That was my thought. That somehow the Organians had a transporter and used the transporter to get them out. Or another
It's
Federation...
the old Viridian patch on your shoulder.
Another Federation agent transported them out.
Or, you know what jumped in my head? Why do the Organians have a dungeon? Why is there a jail?
Well, it was in the old fortress.
But who built the old fortress?
The Organians allowed it so that it fit the mindset of the people that show up.
Sure, it's just one of the random things I thought about. In the Organian society, would there be a dungeon? Probably not. Yeah. But neither here nor there.
It's just been a wine cellar that they turned into a dungeon.
They threw those bars up quick. But
you don't want people to get to your wine. You want to go by and
keep track of how many episodes don't have a jail.
Or where they don't get locked up. Where they don't get locked up somewhere.
Yeah, there's a consistent locking up.
Yeah.
In
they get locked up a lot.
Even in the movies, there's people being locked up.
Yeah, locked up is a thing.
So no matter how far in the future you go, there will be prisons.
There's still a prison. Yeah.
No, Jim's right. They get incarcerated a lot.
A lot.
And we really haven't talked about it. They get locked up a lot. Bars, force fields, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Modern jails, old jails.
So they go, and they're going right after Kor.
But
they go after Kor.
While they're listening to all this, while they're having the conversation, you hear massive disruptor fire.
Oh, yeah.
You hear massive disruptor fire. And Kor comes over to PA and goes, I just wasted 200 of you. Bring me the prisoners.
Yes.
Or else. And in 1 hour, 200 more and 200 more.
And Kirk is upset.
Yes.
200 Organians dying. You 5 guys are sitting here like ain't nothing happened.
And the Yellowborn goes, nothing has happened. He literally tells me, nothing has happened. We're fine.
Right.
Nobody's dead, dude.
And it's another moment where it's like, if Kirk didn't have tunnel vision, if he didn't have a full on adrenaline rage going on right now, I'd be like, well, wait a minute. How can you say nothing has happened? 200 people just got, disrupted.
Because you think they just don't care about their own lives. They're sheeple.
He doesn't come off that way. He comes off like nothing happened.
But the perception
not our sacrifices.
The perception
worth it.
The perception is that these guys just don't care.
Yeah. True pacifists.
Because they're true pacifists. Okay, right,
true pacifists.
Someone's dead.
Cost of your life.
It didn't matter. Right. Didn't matter. They're gone.
Yep.
But that's not what really happened.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk's incensed by it. And he makes a statement, look, give us our phasers, and we're going to go out here and do what we need to do to try to show you guys a way, and we're probably going to lose our lives, but so be it.
We see in Mirror where his attitude towards the Hulkans is much more understanding, because I think he understands the Hulkans as being passive. I think he thinks the Organians are cowards.
Possibly.
And I think that's why he becomes more and more agitated by the lack of any kind of response that would, at least to Kirk, demonstrate a caring of self-preservation. I think he thinks they're cowards.
Yeah.
Well, he has matched Kor's disdain for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And you don't have a disdain for a pacifist. I think you feel sorry for them, Because no matter what you say or do, it's not going to be anything compared to what their ultimate fate is going to be.
And if they're a true pacifist who's actually willing to go all the way for their beliefs, you can even respect it a little bit. It may not be your belief. You could even respect that. Most people who claim to be pacifists cease to be pacifists when the rubber hits the road. But if you run into a true pacifist, somebody who's like, I will really just go ahead and die rather than go against my belief, it's like, okay, that's not where I'm coming from, but okay.
So they go out and they're going after Cord. Say, look, we're going to cut the head of the snake off.
Yeah.
And they make their way to the fortress
waylay the lieutenant
at about 100 feet distance, about 50 yards.
Oh yeah,
150 feet, 50 yards. They stun two guys.
Yeah, and why stun them?
You want to save the charge in the phaser.
Considering the mission, I don't want anybody behind me waking up.
Yeah, but I don't want to burn my phaser down where I don't have no more juice. I save the charge. Just stun them.
They got disruptors.
Well, I think it's one of those last-ditch efforts of the writers trying to at least restore some credibility to the peacekeeping nature of Starfleet at this point. Because if they just go in there and do Captain Tracy and start joining phasers and burning things out, it's like...
And they're at war. Sorry,
that's kind of
Palpatine.
Yeah, I don't disagree with
that's
you.
kind of where I was at. I was at this point. Different situation, yeah. Capture guy, yeah. But at this point, considering everything that's happening, what they're in, it's like, and this is my suicidal attack on the palace.
Remember, we're on prime time. The censors might limit as we talk about YouTube and what we say. Remember, they're filming on prime time. Maybe they're thinking we can't do
guys
that.
glow in the dark and disappear in other episodes.
Yeah, but this is war.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Do you not remember the Gorn mortar attack and the glow in the dark red shirt?
That was just one.
Oh no. But
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
If you do more than one, I don't know what the censors would have done at that time.
no, I agree.
That would have been a little bit too much for them to say, okay, you can burn down one red shirt, but we can't have you burning down 5 at one time.
No, I agree with Jim. I think it was a note to say, these are still people that would avoid unnecessary killing.
Okay.
It didn't fit the situation in my mind, but I think that's what their intent was.
So they make their way to Core. They got him.
After choking out the lieutenant and
after
making him talk.
Yeah.
Kirk's got a cord around his neck.
Garrote.
A garrote. Well, it was his belt, but wrap your head around that, censors. He's choking dude out, and he's like, I'm gonna do you. I'm gonna do you right here. I'm gonna kill you right here if you don't tell me. And he goes, and the lieutenant goes completely non-Klingon and spills his guts.
Spill it.
And takes a nerve pinch for his trouble.
So they make their way to Core. They got
Bust
Core
in on Core
at gunpoint, and Core's not flustered.
No.
What does Kirk say? What was it in Voyage Home or Search for Spock? Voyage Home or something like that. There was a Klingon.
Star Trek 3.
And he says, "Help us or die." And the guy goes, "I would rather
die."
And he goes, "Great, I'll kill you.
I'll kill you later.
I'll kill you later."
Yeah. Star Trek 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, Core is not fluxed. He's sitting there like, okay, all right, you got a phaser on me, and he said we can sit here together because our fleets are
coming.
Your fleet's
fleet's coming.
and there's about to be a grand
about
battle.
to get it on.
And you and I can break out the popcorn. We can set another chair here. And we can watch at a distance. This is gonna be all that.
Core's like, don't you wish you were upstairs now?
Core has a lot of respect for Kirk,
and Core makes no bones about he's a warrior, and he's down for this no matter how it comes out.
We're both warriors. Let's stop pretending here.
Yeah,
we both will burn people down.
Right.
You've been playing nice with the sheep herders,
right.
But push come to shove, you pull that phaser and you burn a guy down.
You'll go to work.
So our fleet's about to get busy. We might as well sit back and enjoy it.
And Core's only regret is that they're both not up there,
right?
Instead of down
standing
on the planet.
off against one another.
Yeah.
So they're getting ready to.
Well, they're gonna try to take Core prisoner.
Well, yeah, they're holding Korg, and while they're having a conversation, Korg's boys come in.
Well, Core makes a very important statement. Remember we were talking about, are they the Russians or whatever?
Yeah.
Core says, you don't understand our society.
We're
Captain."
always being
He
watched.
said, everybody's always being watched, even a commander. And his boys bust in because his surveillance camera was on.
Right.
And everybody's about to get it on when all of a sudden the patented Star Trek sound effect for "Ooh, it's hot," that we got to
Sizzle.
that sizzle sound comes on, and everybody drops their weapons.
But we did forget to talk about the cutback to the Organian Council, where
Oh
they said,
yeah, the power up.
you know, we better, we're going to do this, right?
And he's
And the
like,
one
"Yeah,
guy
this is
goes,
gonna be hard."
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, let's
give the
get the power up.
and they begin to meditate.
What was that thing
They
you
did
guys
everything
used to,
but chant.
what did you always yell if there was some anime saying you guys used to always yell when somebody was like, was it Dragon Ball Z or something when they were charging up or something?
Hair goes up. Hair goes up and turns blonde.
Like they're in there talking. They're like, and of course, Kirk, and in the background you hear, oh.
It's like, what does that sound?
What's that sound?
I sense great power.
So they dropped their weapons.
And then they try to go hand to hand.
They try to go hand in hand, and then they
It's
touch
hot,
each other
it's
and
hot.
jumping. And even they blink to the Enterprise that everybody jumps away from their consoles because of what's supposedly going on.
Yeah.
And then you have these two old men walk in and go, "We're not going to allow you to fight." And everybody look like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, no, they're even somewhat we don't really like to interfere in people's affairs.
That's right.
We find it distasteful, but we can't allow this.
No, he says disgusting.
Yeah, he finds it's
We
disgusting,
find it
but
disgusting. to
but we,
interfere
we
with
can't allow you to.
They're not Metrons. Metrons enjoy interfering.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, Metron's like a good contest.
Metrons take a vote, take a.
See, Metrons are completely different. They're like loser gets whacked. The Organians are like, hey, nobody's fighting today. This is nasty.
And the
You
great
stop
line from what's his name? I always forget. It was
A Yellborn?
Yellborn. Yellborn says, "Even now, as I stand before you here, I stand on your home world and on the home world of the Klingon Empire, and we will not allow this to happen."
And if you catch the dialogue, initially, when they first walk in the room, it's just the two local fleets that have been immobilized.
Mm-hmm.
60 seconds later,
It's everybody.
it's everybody. All ships everywhere, from Klingon homeworld to Federation capital.
Not
are-
just ships, the planets themselves.
all warfare ability is ceased in about a minute or two.
And Korg is upset,
Kirk's upset.
and Kirk is
What
upset.
right do you have to stop us from murdering each other?
And
I want to
even
kill
says-
him.
And Quark says at one point, he goes, "Let's bum rush him. I got an army.
Yeah.
Let's work on this together."
Kirk's like, "Don't be stupid, we'll lose." And that's the only thing. Kirk's not like, "This is wrong." Kirk hasn't come to that realization yet. Kirk's just like, "We actually can't win,
That's right.
so stop it. Let's not do this."
This is a grand reveal. There was tons of hints
Yeah,
of what the Organians are. They are not your sheeple. They're not farmers. They're not gold herders. You know, these are
Gods.
but
gods.
and yeah, as a Yellborn explains it, he's like, "We
were like you.
We were like you eons ago.
Millions of years ago.
Tens of thousands of
says
years,
millions of
years ago. We were like you, and we've evolved beyond that. You can't do anything to us." And Korg's like, "What are you talking about?" You know, and Kirk's just
First Kirk and Korg, they start ganging up saying the same things. "How dare you interfere in our affairs? How dare you interfere beyond the boundaries of your planet?
dare
You have
stop
no
us
right."
from this wanton bloodshed.
Yeah, you have no right. And,
Well,
and he's like, we're not going to let you kill millions of people in this little skirmish, because in the future you guys are going to be pals. You're going to work together.
Yeah, but hold on. Before you go there, what Kirk is saying is the exact same thing he was doing.
Yeah,
Right. Oh yeah.
Interfering with their
Absolutely
planet
was.
and their
Yeah.
way of life.
Yeah.
absolutely was.
Yeah.
And now someone's doing it to you. Oh, you're offended?
Right.
Absolutely.
And
was.
Elborn turns it against him. He goes, "Okay, so you're telling me you want us to let you go ahead and kill yourselves and kill other people? That's what you're fighting for, right? You're fighting for the right
to kill each other.
each other."
You're,
Kirk
you're
sort of-
upset that we won't let you kill
Yeah,
each other.
Kirk finally gets it.
Yeah, he starts to go. Oh,
Kirk takes a breath. He calms down.
Yeah,
Is that
I
what you
guess you're kind of right.
Kirk's like, oh, and incidentally, all the weapons are heated to 350 degrees.
Calvin.
Anything, anything that kills Anything that kills is too hot to touch. But and then the Organians are like, look, it's done. We're not going to allow it. And near as I can tell, this episode, even though they don't follow up on it in the series, this is the establishment of the Klingon neutral zone.
Absolutely.
This is the buffer, the Organian imposed buffer.
Yes, it is.
Between the Klingons and the Federation.
Yes, it is. But it being the buffer, we're not going to allow, and as Captain Palpatine has been saying that while Elborn's giving his speech, he's like, look, man, I'm standing on the Klingon homeworld.
Federation capital.
I'm standing in the Federation capital, and I'm telling all you Mo men the same thing. We Organians are not going to allow you to do this.
To go at each other.
We're not going to let it happen. And honestly, it's distasteful for us
to even
to
deal
interfere,
with you. To even
deal with you, Mo man.
On this level, right? It's disgusting.
And like Kirk he starts to recognize it, and the Organians, the other Organians, like, look, just being in the presence of you lower life forms is just being in the presence of you lower life forms are sickening me.
At first, this is where that soundbite comes from.
Information Society.
Yeah, Information Society. You go.
Their whole album sampled like 3 Star Trek episodes. So they're all through their songs as samples from the original series.
Yeah. But in that song, that's where you get the soundbite of
pure energy.
Pure energy.
And that's where it comes from this episode, because that's when they transform
the
themselves.
Organian reveal.
Yeah.
Which they had remastered also.
Yeah.
That was way different than was the original series.
So as the Organians have made this statement, made the point that they won't allow it, and they're saying, look, this is too distasteful for us. We're not going to kick you off the planet.
He does say that you guys got to go.
Yeah, he does.
Right.
Because it's painful to be around you.
You got to leave, but first we're leaving.
Right.
And they just start glowing. And
Spock says, pure energy. So everybody's just forced to pack it up and go home.
That's right.
The one true time in the series where the Klingons and Federation are going to war, and it's just
not today, boy.
It's not allowed. So they're back on the bridge in the Enterprise, and you have the follow up, where Spock comes down and talks to Captain.
Final thoughts,
final thoughts.
Jerry Springer. Final thoughts.
And he goes, "You're not happy with what happened, Jim? What's going on?"
Kirk says, "I'm ashamed.
I'm embarrassed.
Because his brain is finally caught up to him, and he's really had time to think about what was going on and what he was trying to do. He's fighting for the right to commit horrible acts of bloodshed that he actually doesn't want to do, but the underlying truth is that part of him does.
And that's the point that Spock made early on in the episode.
Right.
That it's remarkable. You find yourselves
in the situation you say you want to avoid.
But Kirk also makes a point. He says we think of ourselves as evolved,
right,
and superior,
and to run into something that shows you absolutely are not,
and to run into something that shows that one, you're not powerful, and you're not evolved,
right. And
you were fighting for the opportunity to commit bloodshed,
to slaughter each other.
Yeah, because I think
he said it's disconcerting.
When does the Squire of Gathos? After this?
I'd have to check. I think so.
But, I mean, that's Q power. Like, I think we talked about that.
But even that's artificial.
Right. But it's not.
It's a focus.
It's not, I can be many places.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. The Squire of Gathos is about right for Q.
Yeah.
It's about right.
Yeah.
Not Organian power.
No.
And next level power.
Not Organian power.
Could we agree that the Organians are the most powerful being in all of science fiction and fantasy?
If you spread it out that far, I don't think so. I think there's something more powerful. I
have no idea what it is.
You'll find something in some book or something that'll be more powerful. If you want to make the argument they're the most powerful thing in Star Trek, I think you got an argument. I don't think they've ever done anything that's clearly more powerful.
Squire of Gathos comes before Organia.
Okay.
Squire Gathos is episode 17 or 16, depending on which.
Yeah, what you believe. And Squire of Gathos is a lower power level.
Definitely.
But the other thing Spock says to Kirk, he says, we are to the Organians as amoebas are to us. He said they're completely.
Yeah.
Say they're completely on another level. So.
And it shows.
And it's there's a morality tale there. There's something that really encourages you to look at yourself.
So the title of the episode, Errand of Mercy, is not really that's what the Federation did. It's what the Organians did.
That's right.
Absolutely.
It's the mercy that the Organians
showed us.
Toward the Klingons and the Federation.
Yeah.
Because they could have been trying them.
Yeah. Or they could have let them fight. It would have been nothing to them.
Or they could have blinked them all out of existence.
That's what Mark means.
Yeah.
That's what Mark means.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, they could have let him rock and roll, and it wouldn't have meant anything to Organia.
They did say it's painful.
I don't think they meant it like it actually physically hurt him. I think they find it very distasteful.
Well, if you're part of the energy of the universe,
I don't think.
And there's just.
I don't think it's on that level.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I think it's simply. I'm so evolved that I find your behavior just reprehensible, and I don't like it.
That's the way I took it.
Okay.
It's not that you can do physical damage to me with it. It's just that's disgusting. I don't want to see that.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. That's
like
good.
Pineapple on pizza. But
although it tastes good at times.
Oh, see.
I'm not a huge fan of it, but every now and then.
See, you got issues, man. I'm going to discuss
Also
your
like
anchovy.
anchovies.
There you go. Your anchovies.
No,
Anyway,
not with pineapple.
Errand of Mercy. Errand of Mercy is leaving the anchovies off.
Click like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Top 10.
Yeah, it is. It's a good episode. Look at yourself. Are you as evolved as you think you are?
Oh, heck no.
No. So there we have it, gentlemen. Any closing thoughts? Click like and subscribe. Drop us some comments. Tell us what you love. Tell us what you hate. Tell us how many decks on a Klingon D7. Because some of you know.
I know they know. Man's on track.
Men on track. Out.